Hello, Bravo bosses, and welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast with me, your host, Dana. I hope you all have caught up on the name change. So, I take Bravo very seriously is now the Bravo Investigator Podcast, and you can follow me across all social media at the Bravo Investigator. So happy Saturday. I'm not doing mini recaps again today. Sorry, guys. I'm actually dropping a special bonus episode featuring my exclusive interview with Eleonora Srugo, who's the star of Selling the City on Netflix. Now, if you haven't watched this series, you should, because there is definitely some spoilers in this episode, but don't let that stop you. But to give you guys context who haven't seen the series but want to listen to the interview, Selling the City is about a team of real estate agents in New York selling luxury real estate, working at Douglas Elliman. And Eleanor runs the team, and the series basically follows the similar style of reality TV real estate shows. Eleanor worked her way up from nothing and was raised by a single mom. She's always made her career her priority. And then on her team, she's got Abby. So she's the newest agent on the team. She's been there like 2 months, but she's been an agent for 4 years. She talks about feeling very young, like a fish out of water, because she's like a decade younger than everybody else. She's married to her college sweetheart. Then we have Taylor. She's very like shy and she gives off a very timid vibe. She's been with her husband Peter for 10 years and they have been having marriage and fertility issues. There's Jordyn. She's been dating Trevor Noah, so that's kind of interesting and there's some drama there. Giselle is a single mom. Justin is someone Eleonora has known for a long time and also works at Douglas Elliman, and Eleonora had like a one night stand with him, so we talk about that. Steve Gold, you might remember from Million Dollar Listing New York from many years ago. So I kind of love that he's on this. I'm not quite sure why he is, but I love that he is because he's hot. And then there's Jade Chan, who Eleanor has a long history with, but isn't on Eleanor's team, but seems to have beef with her straight away. So we sort of get into what happened there. And the reason I was tempted to honestly even watch this show, because I was like, oh my God, another real estate reality show. But I heard it ended with Jade screaming at Netflix cameras, fuck you, Netflix. So I'm like, okay, I've got to watch this. So it's 8 episodes on Netflix, binge it on a weekend. It's a really, really good one. Really recommend it, guys. And I hope you enjoy my interview with Eleonora. If you do, guys, please leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you leave a written review, I will send you stickers from Color Us Bravo. Follow them on Instagram. So that's at Color Us Bravo. So make sure to leave a 5-star review. If it's a written review, put your Instagram handle in it to make sure that I can get you the stickers to the right place. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy. Love you, BBs. Eleonora Srugo, welcome to the Bravo Investigator Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Eleonora, I'm so happy to have you here because I am really a big fan of real estate reality shows. You are the
Okay.
star of the new real estate reality show on Netflix called Selling the City. Now, as I'm sure you can appreciate, there are a lot of these out there right now. And to be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, another one. But
Okay.
then I heard about the ending, which we will get to. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll check it out. So, what
Okay.
do you, and I loved
But
it, by the way.
is it really another one? There's really only one in New York City right now, other than us.
Okay, in New
Or
York, but there
not,
are a
right?
lot of real estate reality shows.
That's
So, what do you
fair.
think really sets Selling the City apart from all of the others? Is it the location?
Um, it's no, it's a few things. I think first of all, I think it's the first one of these shows where there's a female lead at sort of the helm here. Not we're in,
Hmm.
I actually think we're an incredible ensemble cast. I say this time and again, a lot of these shows have like 10 to 12 cast members and it's really
Right.
hard to follow. We only have 8, and so you can really like connect with every single one of our cast members. So I really there's no like star of the show. We're a great ensemble. I think 8's a really good number. But you do have a woman sort of like leading the charge in terms of like my journey and my growth as a manager. I'm also a native New Yorker, so like no shade, but if you moved here from like Texas or even Connecticut or, you know, another country, it don't count. Like I'm
Right.
a real New Yorker. I'm telling my New York story. And look, I think that you also want to do what's right and what does work. And like what Selling Sunset does, I think in a step and a level above and beyond any other real estate show on air or that has ever existed on any network in any country is I think that they really do the real estate justice. I mean, I think that they do on a production and just a visual perspective. There is no show that gets the beauty treatment like a selling franchise, whether right Sunset or the OC. They really know how to make property shine. I mean, so that I think goes without saying, like New York deserved a version of that.
I completely agree.
Of sort of what you think about like the content or the cast or the personalities or whatever it is, the actual real estate on the show simply looks better.
I agree. Well, let's get into you a little bit. How did you get into real estate, and is it something you've always wanted to do?
Absolutely not.
Really?
I never, no. I mean, I'm old. When I was growing up, like real estate agents did not have any sort of glamorized version of themselves on television. There was no HGTV that shows selling in New York. I don't know. It used to be on HGTV like 10 years ago. Like, no, that wasn't even out. $1 Million Listing had never been out.
Right.
So when I was growing up, like real estate was basically for people that had failed in other jobs. There's a website called Craigslist, which is like what people use, or like, you know, then people would go in the paper or like the Village Voice, and that's how you would find an apartment. There was no sort of centralized MLS. I think what these shows have done is they've really enhanced the perception of the industry. I don't understand brokers who like shit on these shows. I think they've given a lot of aspiration to our industry. I mean, I remember reading an article in 2008 that said out of 26 careers, a real estate agent was 26, below a car salesman, right? Like not an industry that you wanted to be in. So I have a lot of admiration for this platform and what it's done for our industry. And, you know, so growing up, I went to college. I you know, worked really hard to get into college and pay for college. I graduated with $200,000 in student debt. It was mind boggling for me to think that I'd be entering a career that you don't even need to go to college to like get in, right? Like it was a 2-week licensing course. I wanted a really traditional corporate job until I got one and realized that you can't make any money. And I needed to survive.
Right. So, how did Selling the City come to you? Did they approach you? Did you approach Netflix? Like, how did that come to be?
They approached me, but I don't think that they approached me about selling the city.
Oh,
I think at the time, look, if you understand reality or unscripted world, they're always casting. They're never shut off from casting. They're always keeping an open look. So it's so funny. Like I just saw a bunch of blogs post like Real Housewives of New York is casting. It doesn't mean anything. They cast every year.
Right. That's what they've told us.
Shows, they always cast every year just to see like who's out there, what's out there. And they might not pay for that year. They might then consider you a year later or as a friend or as a whatever. They're always keeping their eyes out. So I think they were just keeping an eye out. I don't think it was for selling the city. I think it was for real estate content on Netflix. I suspect it was for selling Sunset. You know, if I think at the time Christine Quinn had just left Sunset. So I guess that it was probably in the time that they were casting, you know, ultimately, I think they added Bree, who's an incredible character, and Nicole, but I think they were just sort of keeping an open mind as to who could be a good fit. And when they met with me, I was very hard on, no, like, I don't sell real estate anywhere but it's actually not true. I actually have a listing in LA right now, but like, I don't sell real estate anywhere but New York. I'm great at New York, New York, New York. I'm a New Yorker. Like, come to New York. You should do selling. And I kept dropping, like, you should do it here. You should do it here. And I think it's something that Adam DeVello, who's our executive producer, always wanted to do. He's a native of the tri-state area. New York is like his first love. He always says that, like New York was his first wife. And then he went to LA and made about LA, like Laguna Beach and whatever. But I think it was always meant for him to come back and do a New York show. And it just felt like the right match. And then it just became a journey of like, who on my team or in my aura can be the right fit, right? So like have that massive of it. It's not a company, but I had a circle of friends and we all know each other and have a deep history. And so we started to flush out how can we present a show. And this is another thing that makes our show so unique is that it gives you a whole ecosystem. It's not just me and my team or this company. It's me and another 2 individuals at my company and then another individual who's at another company. So and we showcase new development sales, which is a very significant part of the New York City market. Like all of those make the show unique.
Totally. But did you have any reservations about doing reality TV? Because it definitely has its ups and downs. The idea of reality TV, or the quote unquote job of reality TV, is to be as open as possible and tell your whole truth. And were you worried about that at all?
No.
No. Wow.
I am an open book. There's literally not one secret. Probably I should be more private about things. I have absolutely nothing to hide. I don't mind people digging around or speculating as long as they hear me and acknowledge that what I'm saying is truthful. I was not concerned about that. Certainly in the past, I'd been concerned about other shows. I'd had other opportunities to be on TV
Oh,
where
okay.
maybe, I was competing, right? Like I never thought of myself as doing like a fitness competition show. Like I can't do that. I'm not like a survivor. I'm also like past the age of like living in a house with roommates, right? Or like
Right. Like a
other
summer
women.
house.
Yeah, or summer. Like I can't yeah, I don't do share houses in my real life. I wouldn't like
Has
also
to be
just like
realistic to your
it
life.
has to be realistic, and like dating is not something that like I'm particularly strong at, nor do I do. So like why would I compete for dating or have anyone compete with me? And again, like living in a house
Hmm.
somewhere, no way, just not. I've never had a roommate, could never do that. So, but this felt good, right? Like this is my industry. I love my job. I've been doing it for 15 years. I feel very confident about that. And more so, it was the fact that like the name attached to it was really big. I give Adam a lot of credit. He changed the genre of unscripted television. I grew up watching his shows, and he, I think, tells beautiful stories. I really think he's like a genius in sort of capturing someone's real life and giving it this sort of like beautiful Hollywood treatment.
Totally, but I think you do that as well because in watching you, you come off very, very natural for someone who hasn't done reality TV before. So was it as natural for you to do it as it was for us to watch it?
Yes and no. I obviously, I'm going to be myself one way or another, cameras around or not. I do think there were moments where the producers were like, "Oh, you're a little, stiff or whatever." Sure, I could have let my guard down more. I could have been more, but I'm also aware of like the world and society and the ability for things to be taken out of context, right? Like if you spend an hour with me, I'm way more comfortable being loosey goosey and drinking and maybe not so PC. But like I'm also aware that things have to get edited for television. So I was definitely hyper aware of like the fact that like you're not just getting an uncut hour with me. They do have to capture moments. And so I was not gonna like give a sound bite that would be completely inappropriate either, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I just want to know a little bit about more about your team. So was this team originally part of your team prior to the show or were they sort of cast? And are they still a part of
It,
your
it
team?
yeah, of course. It's organic, and it's definitely you have to work together, I would say, with them. I do have a team that exists. So all four women that you see on the show are part of my team in real
Hmm.
life. They are all producing, putting money on the books, but there are four members of my team that exist that are not on the show. So there is a
Okay.
real team, right? There is a real team here. And that's part of having to manage it because this is an element that exists in my business that doesn't exist for other people that run real estate teams. So I definitely have to acknowledge that I do have people that are very important to me that are not necessarily on television, but that are there.
Right.
Um, and yes, so how did it come about? I mean, I organically, I would say in the pandemic, so pre talking to Netflix, knew that I needed to expand just because, like, I can't do this entirely on my own. I have an assistant, or I call her chief of operations, that's been with me sort of for 11 years on and off. And so, like, on the show, I think I like at some point when I call it office management, I really mean her, Sarah. She's been a part of this team forever. Um, then I needed Gisselle first. I needed a Jersey referral. So her and I had been working together also pre Netflix or whatever. Taylor was an agent who I knew, who I recruited to Douglas Elliman. Again, didn't immediately put her on my team, sort of just brought her she was at Sirhan. I brought her to Elliman
Mhm.
and we collaborated, but we didn't formalize the team thing really until like we knew that this was happening. I'm trying to think. Jordyn,
Jordyn?
Yeah, Jordyn also was natural, organic, met her for coffee, liked her vibe, needed someone who was licensed in LA. So those were all pre-existing relationships. Abby was not. Abby
Okay.
sort of they recommended, but again, no one's like forcing me to hire anyone, right? It wasn't anything like that. And Abby was great. Like I met her, she has a ton of experience, especially like back office stuff. She was a really fast learner. She is a fast learner. She's fantastic on showings, and I felt comfortable with her. There were definitely people that like we had met that I didn't like, and I
Hmm.
had the right to like say that.
Yeah.
And obviously Jade, Steve, and Justin are all pre-existing relationships that I've had for, 7+ years.
Okay, I want to talk to you about Justin. So you talk on the show
Okay.
about having this relationship with him where you basically had sex, it changed your perspective on who you were in your life, and it sort of helped bring you out of your shell. I want to
Yes.
know why you guys never actually dated, or did you?
We didn't. Why did we not actually date? I think there's like a mutual understanding that like we're not right for each other.
Mm.
I'm also like, I'm not crushing on him. I don't think he's like, I'm not his type. He's not my type at
Okay.
all. We were friends first. So Justin had a business partner named Glenn, and the three of us were like a trio. We always tried to like collaborate. We had listings together. We had a lot of fun together. We would take meetings together. Glenn was married, then divorced. So, like in his divorcee era, he wanted to go out. And I was like, not really trying to go out because I hadn't really been out in like 8 years. I was building a career. I didn't really drink much. I didn't have sex for 8 years. And so, like, it literally happened one night where, like, we had a great meeting with Howard. We actually like had a meeting with our chairman, Howard Lorber. It was like a great meeting. We thought like went really well. And Justin and Glenn were like, let's go get drinks. And I was like, no, like I'm going home. And they were like, Eleanor, you never get drinks. Like, go, just fucking live a little. So they convinced me to go out. And then, like, I don't know, 29 kamikaze shots later, I like was going to ask Glenn because Glenn was like my single friend. But Justin was more of like, experience, Justin like dated hot models and like was more, Justin was more like, I would say, you know, would get girls all the time. Whereas like Glenn was newly single and whatever. So I was super surprised that it ended up being Justin. It just sort of was like happenstance, but it was great. Like it was a very safe place for me to do that. There was no judgment. There was like, it was nice for what it was. It definitely served a purpose. But like, look, Justin wants to leave. I'm diehard New York. Justin wants to move to Nashville and
Okay.
start a family. I know, even though he's from the Midwest, he's like obsessed with Nashville. He wants a Southern Christian girl. I'm a Jew
Hmm.
and my kids
Me
will
too.
be Jewish, right? Like he wants the blonde hair and hair extent, like it's just not me at all. And I respect that. I'm happy for him. And then I want like a Jersey, I need like a New Yorker. I need like an alpha New Yorker, like New York, Jersey, kind of Jewish, strong guy. Like he's
Yeah.
just not been anything that I've wanted, but it was definitely a nice and safe environment.
Well, you
So
definitely talk a lot about, dating and how it's been an issue for you with your career. Can you talk a little bit about the connection between the two and how maybe your career has led to you having issues with dating or struggling to date?
yeah, it's so interesting. I think I got to a place when I was like 23 that I was completely burnt out. Like
Hmm.
I tried to like be fun and cool in college, but I just like always felt like I was hiding something. I was
Hmm.
like, you know, in a cool Jewish upper middle class circle, like going out, living the life with like all my girlfriends who had like a different Chanel bag for every night they went out. And I was like, I felt like I was living a lie. Like I was like broke. I came from nothing. I had like $30 maybe in my checking account if I was lucky. Like I couldn't just like go to Miami for a girls' weekend. Like I couldn't keep up. And like any relationship with men like was not making me feel good. I had no self-identity. I like didn't feel good about myself. So like sex, dating, nothing felt right. So I just stopped cold turkey and I focused on my career. And
Hmm.
honestly, like that focus paid off. And I don't know that I was asexual, but I certainly like the ability to shut off like caring about like a guy texting you or responding or was like completely freeing. Like to not have any FOMO or care what anyone was doing. And it really did allow my career to develop. And then I started to like thrive and live off of that. It felt good to like close deals, and it felt good. I was at the time then became partners with Michael Lorber, and it felt good to just be with friends who also weren't like trying to get married or what, there was no goal. And like I like going to like learning about an real upper class world and ultra high net worth individuals, and like building a network for myself. And it just felt good to be shut off. What I learned when I turned 31 was that actually my clients started to then, now that I had established myself for everything else, my clients became open to the idea of me dating or having a social or personal life or looking a certain way, that because I'd already sort of proven myself, it became very now acceptable, and they would sort of cheer me on. It's not easy. I've only really been dating or talking to people for about 2018. So what is that, 7 years almost? Right. The Justin thing happened in February 2018. So what is that?
5, 6, 7 years.
So 7 years of like learning those interactions and dating. It's not like easy. I'm not like a hoe, but I'm trying. But yeah, it's like, it's challenging. It's funny. It used to be, on some level, I have a lot of male clients, but really I spend a lot of time with their wives. The wives have to trust me around their husbands. So it's something that I take very seriously. And I'm not unaware that even though there's nothing nefarious going on, that, if I'm out at dinner with friends and then I see a client's husband out and we say hello, and then someone else sees us and then texts the wives, your husband was talking to that woman, and obviously like I understand that like there are weird social stigmas about it, which hopefully trying to squash, because, me saying hello to someone when I'm out who's a client is the right thing to do. And just because I choose now to look a certain way, because by the way, it's so funny, like this New York Times reporter like was following me around for a while, I think like 2 years ago, I think she was following the mayor, but whatever. She was like, what do you know about me? She was like, I know that you're like a hot real estate agent. I'm like, okay, well, I'm hot because like I turned 35 and I'm still single. So I'm trying to like meet someone. And yeah, I'm in real estate, but there's like so much more to me. There's a lot more depth there. And we ended up talking, and then she sort of like backed down from sort of immediately judging me as like the hot real. I wasn't always hot, This is a costume like everything else. So
I totally get that. But do you feel like there's this pressure in real estate to be pretty and thin?
It depends sort of what you're going for, and what look. No, I built a business not being thin, right? I built it based on my credentials, but sure, it depends. Like, look, I actually think anytime you win a client, because like a guy like wants I've had the clients where like, I want a hot agent. I definitely have had that. Like, I need a hot girl agent. Those clients don't last. It's not real. I don't know that those leads are real. You really can only build a business based on your expertise and like what you bring. At the end of the day, the price points are too high for anyone to like risk buying an apartment or trusting someone just because they're attractive.
Yeah, of course.
But certainly I would say like in New York City, yeah, being thin could be a currency. I've liked myself both ways. I would say like being thinner has definitely given me freedom from like some panic attacks I would have when trying to get ready and things don't fit. That's been like a little more fun.
No, I definitely feel like in so many industries, like it depends on the way you look for people to take you seriously, or being a woman or any of those factors. And you talk a bit about that on the show, about how being a woman in business is just not as simple as it seems. And so can you talk a little bit about what it means to you to be a woman in business?
Yeah, I really wanted to build a career where people like don't see my gender, right? Where they just sort of acknowledge me as one of their own. But there are certain things that like, look, there are heavy conversations, even with this show, that have come out about my professionalism. And is it appropriate that I talk to the women on my team about fertility or their marriages? And like, I don't see conversations about like men bosses, like my counterparts, like, do crazy shit with their sort of employees. And I don't see that being asked at all. I think even just like women in life, like if a man at a restaurant is unsatisfied with his meal or service, and a woman is unsatisfied with her meal or service, a man usually gets the respect of like a resolution, and a woman gets called a bitch or a rude, for just wanting to get what she deserves for spending. And I think that stigma has more to do with the fact that like the assumption is that men are the spenders or providing and women are on someone else's dime.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to jump to Jade for a second, if we can. So Jade is someone you've known for a long time. She's on the show, and clarify this for me. She's not on your team, is that correct?
She's not on my team. She's
Okay.
actually not on any team. She works for, they're two sister companies. There's
Okay.
Douglas Elliman Real Estate, which is the parent company, and then they have a subsidiary called Douglas Elliman Development and Marketing, and they often work in conjunction. But what happens is if there's a building that has over 10 apartments for sale or 100 million in valuation or more, then it automatically gets filtered through Douglas Elliman Development Marketing instead of Douglas Elliman Real Estate.
Okay.
That's so that uniformity and consistency and a process and like how those apartments are brought to market. And I would say it's very heavily on the marketing side of sales. So rather than like what I do, which is like, go out and get listings and represent buyers every day, what they do is a lot of marketing things. Like, I want to launch a new building, right? Like we have to have a launch party, and they have to like plan the event, and they'll look at the invite and pick out the food and think about the social media posts. And, there's the traffic is a lot more. So even though I might be attached and assigned to that building to do the sales, they do need someone who's in-house representing that product.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But what was your relationship like with her before the show? Because a lot of times on reality TV, when we see characters, sorry to call them characters, but people that we see on TV, a lot of times they have relationships prior to the show, and there seems to be something going on that we're not aware of because we only started the show at a certain point. She seems to have come into this show already having an issue with you. So I feel like we missed something. So can you fill us in a little bit on what the deal is with Jade?
I think I missed something too.
Oh no.
Obviously, that was a lot of what I saw was a surprise to me.
Okay.
Some of it was not. But yeah, a lot of what I saw was a surprise because we were generally in a good place while filming the show.
Okay.
The history with Jade is she first came on my radar in 2015. I was told that there was a new beautiful girl who joined Douglas Elliman Development Marketing as in an admin capacity. I was friends with a more established agent, and he was telling me about her. And I said, great, okay, that's cool. I'm glad there's a new pretty girl on the scene. 2015, I was 28, was told she was the same age. It's great. Didn't actually meet, I think, until 2018. Okay. So because I was not social. I didn't like go out. I didn't go to like work functions or events. Like I couldn't care less. But in 2018, now that I was like out there, I was like, okay, let me go like socialize, or 2017. So I did, we met, and I thought she was cool. And I was like, great, I don't have any girlfriends. Like, let's hang out. So I think I reached out to her. I said, let's get drinks. We had such a fun night. She was like funny. She was like definitely encouraging me to like go out more and like let loose and fuck around. Like she's like fun like that. So I was like, okay, this is like a good influence for me now. Like I probably need that. And we became friends, and we went on these like long walks together, and we went on trips together. But I also, for 8 years, not only had I not gone out or dated or been with men, I also hadn't socialized with women. So like I also was navigating relationships with women, like who to trust, like Mean Girl, how they tell you to dress, like just like little things that I
so much in common, I swear.
Right? Yeah, but
I'm the same.
and that actually was like harder. I didn't realize that there were like weird, all these rules, and that they could easily hurt you or not hurt. Like it just was all new to me. But I would say like 8 or 9 months into this friendship, something happened where she didn't like how I reacted. She was my assistant threw me a surprise party. She talks about it on the show, although the facts are all off. But my assistant threw me a surprise birthday dinner. I was not happy about it. I didn't want anything. I didn't like it. I didn't like that Jade was involved in it and didn't mention it to me. I didn't like that I was told to dress frumpy, and that I didn't understand why like Justin was there, or Glenn, or like 2 random agents at our office, and my manager and an architect. Like none of my real friends were. I didn't even know like why they would do something when I was so adamant that I didn't want anything done. And we got into it that night. And then she basically said some of the nastiest things to me over message and dropped me. She was like, I'm done. So I didn't like, I realized that like this friendship had absolutely no loyalty, no real depth, that it was sort of superficial and economic. Maybe it was like useful to like show everyone else at the company that like, the friendship, she dropped me and I thought she was good and we were good and we were done in the pandemic. But look, her career continued to rise. She had a great trajectory, no hard feelings, really honestly admire her success. In 2020, she reached out to me in the pandemic, just said she had like been looking at old photos, reminisced, and we gave the friendship another go. We caught up, we had fun. Again, like everyone asked me, Jade is a great time. She's really fun. She's great to be around. And generally, like, I do think that there is a part of her that actually likes me. I know it's weird, but she seems sincere sometimes and like liking me. So we had another great go at a friendship. And then again, sort of something happened. And again, she just like pieced. Basically what happened, I got into a little scandal involving The Bachelorette. I don't know if you know, it was
No,
a horrible thing that happened to me.
Okay.
It was a horrible thing that happened to me. And again, like I realized that whatever. And then I think I was like good on the friendship. Honestly, I reached out to her again because like I could not in good conscience do a show about women in real estate in New York, like this selling show and not throw her name in the mix.
Okay, so you did that for her.
I did that for her. I thought that it was like the right thing to do. She is another woman who's making moves at my company, certainly in a different lane. And we reconnected and it was nice and pleasant, but I'll be honest, it wasn't like I didn't have a guard. I did not think that for 1 second we were in such a nice, pleasant space and we do such different things. And she's now so established in her own lane that I didn't think that there would be a need to compare.
Right.
At all. It was sort of like, we're never doing the show and comparing because like, there is no comparison. If you want to talk about resales and my experience, like I'm sorry, there just is not a comparison. I just thought she would go on the show and like shine and show her own world. And that is not what I saw. And I was very surprised to see that play out. But was I surprised about like the whole Abby thing? Like, no, that I've said now I sort of knew about and I didn't really care about.
In terms of her calling Abby old, or in terms of at the very end, her screaming, "Fuck you, Netflix, I'm not going to allow you guys to film this." I'm really curious your opinion on that, because if you watch back your face, you look shocked as hell.
No,
You're like, what's going on?
I was shocked because Jade is so, was very concerned about like the professionalism, as was I, by the way. We were.
This is your real job as well.
It's a real job. So I was shocked that she went there. I was not shocked that she like invited Abby over and like talked shit, that I didn't care about at all. Literally, when Abby came to me, I was like, Abby, you don't know Jade. I know her. Like, she gives unsolicited opinions about things. She likes to like throw weird words out. She is more flippant and negligent with her words. And I've yet to see her say that she wants to improve upon that or change. So like she is she likes the banter. She likes talking about others in a sort of very flippant way. And I think oftentimes she says things she doesn't actually mean.
Okay.
I don't know.
What do you think this means for her going forward? I mean, do you think, first of all, there is a season 2? And second of all, if there is a season 2, do you think she'll be a part of it? Because screaming "fuck you, Netflix" and refusing to film, which is not doing being honest and telling your truth and doing what you're supposed to do on reality TV and literally trying to block the cameras from allowing filming to happen, like, what do you think that means for her going forward?
Yeah, that's actually, you make the best point, which is that when I recommended her, I actually never thought she would say yes.
Oh.
Because you do. If you watch reality TV, you know that you have to sort of accept that it all is out there and it's all fair game. And she is very protective about her private life. She wants to separate between business and personal. This is a show that very much delves into the personal. And in the past, even for like other casting directors that have reached out to us, she had always said, no, no, no. So it was a very interesting turn for her to suddenly be like, okay, like, let's do it. I'm not sure. I do think that she spent a lot of time making commentary about me and my life and not telling her story. Yes. Like she grew up or if she's dating anyone, like though, right? I'm not going to out her, tell her story, but she should talk about that, what her biggest buildings were and deals and not try to compare resale or this. Tell us what you really do on the day-to-day, which is exceptional and different and not something that I do.
Right.
I think that those are great stories for her to tell. And I hope that she comes back if we get a season 2 and does that. Then maybe people will get to know her and it'll be easier to sort of relate to her. We get a season 2? I have no idea. Netflix doesn't like release numbers or talk about these things. It's been a weird month. Like when we came out, it was great. It was like nice and chilly and everyone stayed home and binged it. But then, the inauguration and the fires and this, I have no idea if people stayed. My feedback, I'm getting really good feedback.
I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
I'm getting the people that like enjoyed it. I don't know that people would reach out to tell me they didn't. But
they would. They absolutely would. You haven't had a hater yet? Oh, good for you.
Not really.
That's a big deal.
A little, yeah. Not really. But I would love for Netflix to give us another chance and another go. I'd even love it if we could film a couple seasons back to back, just because this like big delta in between is hard, right?
So much life happens.
So much life happens in between, and I really want to go and live life, right? To the fullest and enjoy it. So yeah, I hope we get one. I definitely think she'll come back. I think she wants to come back and try again. Although again, those are not things that she's ever voiced publicly to me or to anyone. But I think it would serve her to come back and talk about herself and not others.
Do you have time for one more question?
Of course, I have time. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned on the show about having 2 uteri, and can you just sort of explain how you found that out and what this means for your fertility journey going forward?
Totally. This is so weird because hundreds of people have reached out about this. So
really?
It's a weird anomaly that I guess exists. So it's called a Mullerian duct anomaly. Basically, it means that when you are in utero yourself, your kidneys and uterus actually come from the same duct, right? And then how they develop is typically 2 kidneys and 1 uteri. But an anomaly in that is that the reverse happens, and it happens often. And oftentimes people go their whole lives and never even know it, right? That they have 1 kidney. And because the double uteri could be 2, it could be 1 that's kind of connected. It could be 1 primary one, 1 small one. But this happens very often and you will never know, right? As long as you have good kidney function, no one would ever tell you that. But I found out through it depends on, again, the formation or the depth of the anomaly. I found out through some pretty traumatic health issues in middle school and high school that usually develop. And some people find this out after menstruation starts. So for me, it sort of goes further that I have only 1 fallopian tube. So to be fertile and to have a child with today's technology, just for all women out there, all you need are ovaries. Right? Your ovaries need to create follicles. As long as you can retrieve eggs, you can have your own child. Right? Whether you use a gestational surrogate or whatever. That goes without saying. I have a uterus so what they do is they basically go and they do a 3D scan of your uterus, and they determine if your uterus can carry a pregnancy or not. And if it can't, then they can actually do a cosmetic surgery or plastic surgery on your uterus to make sure that you can carry.
Cool.
If I can carry, the journey of naturally impregnating an egg would be hard because the 1 fallopian tube would have to be the perfect time when it was the left tube and so it would be easier to inseminate, when that time came. I think all women, no matter what, and this doesn't just have to do with being born with an anomaly, which I have. I think it also has to do just with general health, carcinogens, fibrosis, cysts, endometriosis, so many women, so many issues around your reproductive organs that all women should freeze their eggs, because all you need to have a child is those eggs, whether you can carry yourself, get naturally pregnant or not. That is all you need to have your own child. And it sucks that it's expensive to do so. I believe that it should be covered by insurance. But I do think that men can have a child until the day they die.
Pretty
And
much.
unfortunately, women cannot.
Yeah.
So I'm not, I get a lot of flack for saying this on the internet, for saying basically people think that I'm like trying to convince women to work and not choose a traditional life. That is absolutely not what I'm doing. When I tell the women on my team to freeze their eggs, it's not because I want them to work more or longer. It's because I want them to have children.
Right.
That
It's an
is
insurance policy.
the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is. I know that when the time comes, it's not that easy. And I would love for them all to have children. I want them to bring the babies to the office. I love babies. More babies, right? That is the point. More babies, more egg freezing. It's just a way to make women equal to men. All it does is say men can do this till they die. Let's let women do this till they die.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. Just let us have a level, equal playing field.
100%. And so do you see a child as part of your future?
I would love to. I still hold on hope to like having a child with a partner. So I'd like to identify the right partner. I'm not trying to like, I can't trap anyone, but I'm not trying to. I'd like to have a partner.
Yeah.
I say this, like when someone wants to have a child with me, it has to be intentional.
Right.
Like I said, no one's slipping one past the goalie. We have to intentionally go together.
Right.
Probably make a baby, really try, make a baby. And yes, I would love to see that.
That's
But,
amazing.
yeah, I just went to a bris on Sunday. Cutest baby I've ever seen. Like, we like babies.
I love that for you. Well, Eleonora Srugo, thank you so much for being here. Where can the people follow you if they want to see what you have going on?
Eleonora Srugo on Instagram and I guess TikTok, although I'm getting there. I'm using it. And yeah, on our website, on Netflix, that's the most important thing. Watch our show on Netflix and give it a thumbs up or a 2 thumbs up. Say you love it. We think they look at all those things.
Thank you so much. Love you, BB. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator Podcast in partnership with Hurrdat Media. You can watch full-length videos on Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoy the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.